You found the podcast, Go Beyond. You found the podcast, Go Beyond the Brief, where we take a deep dive into the societal currents shaping our lives. Together, we'll explore the often unseen forces at play. We'll examine the research, dissect the data, and most importantly, if you're seeking to understand what's shaping our society, this is the place.
26. And look, if you've been anywhere near a screen or a newspaper or even just a conversation this week, you know exactly why we're here.
Oh, yeah. The headlines are everywhere.
They're everywhere. The world is staring at this explosive set of headlines. But we are not here to just read the ticker tape to you.
Definitely not. The headlines are loud, sure, but they're also incredibly shallow. They give you the what, but they are totally missing the how.
Exactly. So we've pulled the full situation report on the Epstein files, global fallout and immigration report. And I have to say, usually when we do these deep dives, we're looking back at history. You know, the Roman Empire, the dot-com bubble.
Things that are settled.
Things that are settled. This is not settled. This is unraveling right now as we speak.
It's happening in real time. We're essentially watching the aftershocks of a 3.5 million page data dump just hitting the global stage. And honestly, calling it a report feels like a massive understatement.
It does.
This isn't a report. It's an autopsy of a massive system failure.
That is the angle that really hooked me. It's so easy to get distracted by the famous names. And don't worry, we are absolutely getting to the famous names.
We are.
But the core of this situation report is about what they're calling systemic protection. It's a case study in how legal frameworks, visa systems, and diplomatic channels were essentially hacked to protect a criminal enterprise.
That is the key takeaway. If you only look at the scandal, you miss the machinery. We are seeing governments wobbling from London to Oslo, a massive standoff in Washington, and bureaucracy. I mean, boring old bureaucracy being exposed as a weapon.
So here's our mission for today. We're going to unpack the clemency quid pro quo that has D.C. paralyzed right now. We're going to look at why the British Prime Minister is hemorrhaging staff. And we're going to look at something I found just technically disturbing. How H-1B visas were used as a shield against the law.
It's a lot to cover, but we really have to start with the immediate crisis. That standoff happening right now in the U.S. Capitol.
Let's get into it. Segment 1, the Capitol standoff. This all kicked off just 2 days ago, Monday, February 9th. Ghislaine Maxwell was deposed virtually before the House Oversight Committee. Now, I think a lot of people expected a sudden, tearful confession. That is not what happened.
No, not at all. If you were expecting some Hollywood movie moment, you were disappointed. Initially, it played out exactly as any defense attorney would script it. Maxwell invoked her Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination.
Right.
And she didn't just use it once. She used it for almost every single question about co-conspirators.
The standard stonewall, just I plead the Fifth over and over.
Precisely. It keeps her from adding new charges to her sheet. It's the safe play. But then the dynamic shifted. And this is the pivot point that has Washington spinning. Her attorney, David Marcus, dropped a bombshell on the record.
This is that clemency quid pro quo we mentioned.
Right. Marcus stated that his client is prepared to, and I'm quoting here, speak fully and honestly, but, and here's the massive but, only if she is granted clemency.
Okay, let's pause and unpack that. Clemency is a big word. Are we talking about a full pardon? Is she asking to just walk free?
It's likely a negotiation for a commutation of sentence, so basically reducing her jail time significantly. A full pardon is probably politically nuclear, but maybe. The leverage she's using is very specific. She claims she can clear the names of high-profile figures.
And she named names.
She named President Donald Trump and former President Bill Clinton.
Wow. That feels incredibly calculated. She's dangling a carrot for both sides of the political aisle. She's saying, I have the truth about the two biggest political dynasties. You want it. Let me out of the cage.
It's a hostage negotiation, you know, but the hostage isn't a person, it's information. And it puts the current administration in a terrible bind. I mean, think about the ethics. Do you make a deal with a convicted sex trafficker to get the full map of the network?
Or do you stand firm on justice is blind, keep her locked up, and risk those secrets just dying with her?
It's a legal game of chicken. And while everyone is focused on that drama, there's something else happening in the paperwork that I think is actually more scandalous. This brings us to the second part of our deep dive, weaponizing the law.
This is the how, right? How did they keep this quiet for so long? The documents point a finger at a very prestigious law firm. Skadden, Arps, Slate, Meagher, and Flom. I mean, who is Skadden?
They're the giant, one of the most profitable, powerful law firms in the world. They represent Fortune 500 companies. And documents from 2008 show something very disturbing. Attorneys from the firm allegedly coordinated with Epstein to make sure foreign staff were not deposed.
And the excuse they used wasn't some high-level legal privilege.
No, not at all. It was immigration law. They cited immigration complications regarding H-1B or O-1 visas. They basically argued that these people couldn't testify because it might jeopardize their visa status.
Okay, I want to really break down those acronyms because this is where the systemic failure really comes in. H-1B and O-1 visas, what are these supposed to be for?
So an H-1B visa is strictly for specialty occupations. Usually, this means you need a bachelor's degree or higher think software engineers, architects, researchers.
People with a specific skill set. And the O-1.
An O-1 visa is for individuals with extraordinary ability. Think Nobel Prize winners, Olympic athletes. I mean, the bar is supposed to be incredibly high.
Right, but the deep dive into this Jean-Luc Brunel MC2 visa pipeline shows the people being brought in didn't exactly fit that description.
Not even close. We're seeing evidence that modeling agencies, specifically MC2, were used to sponsor visas for young women with very little formal education. It's what we call specialty fraud. They were bringing them in under the guise of being highly specialized, but in reality, they were being trafficked.
So the visa was the bait to get them into the country, but then it became something else. The report cites 2015 emails talking about the threat of ICE reporting.
That is the weaponization. Once these women were in the U.S., that visa became a leash. If a victim threatened to come forward, the threat wasn't just physical violence, it was deportation.
Speak up and we'll call ICE.
Exactly. They use the U.S. immigration system as a mechanism of silence and control. And Skadden attorneys were allegedly using this status to tell courts, oh, we can't depose them, it's too complicated. They use the victim's vulnerability to shield the perpetrator.
It's just insidious. It turns the state's own bureaucracy into an enforcer for a criminal ring. And that impunity wasn't just in the United States.
Yeah.
We need to zoom out. Let's move the map across the Atlantic to London. Because if Washington is tense, the UK right now is arguably worse.
A betrayal of the country. That is the phrase being used in the headlines there.
That is a heavy phrase. And it's coming from the top. The fallout has reached the highest levels of the British establishment, and Prime Minister Keir Starmer is in serious trouble.
He is facing intense pressure. We saw the immediate casualties on Monday. His chief of staff, Morgan McSweeney, and his director of communications, Tim Allen, both resigned.
On the same day.
On the same day.
That's a government in crisis mode. You usually stagger those things so it doesn't look like the ship is sinking. But why? What's the catalyst?
It centers on the investigation into a former UK ambassador, Peter Mandelson. This is where that betrayal quote comes from. Starmer publicly stated that Mandelson betrayed our country.
And this isn't just about attending parties. What's the specific allegation?
The allegation, backed by these new files, is that Mandelson shared sensitive Downing Street insights with Epstein during the 2008 financial crisis.
Whoa. Let's put that in context.
Yeah.
2008. The global economy is melting down, banks are collapsing, and a UK official is allegedly leaking insights to Epstein.
That's what the probe suggests. And you have to ask why. Was it for financial leverage? Was it to help Epstein position his funds? It turns a criminal association into a national security issue.
And of course, you can't talk about the UK without addressing the monarchy. The name Andrew Mountbatten Windsor is apparently all over these files.
Hundreds of times. And it's not just text anymore. New photos were just released this month, February 2026, allegedly showing him in compromising positions.
We've heard about Prince Andrew for years, but this feels...
It's the sheer volume and now the visual evidence. It's reigniting pressure on King Charles III. There are fresh calls for the king to completely sever ties. It's a constitutional headache that just will not go away.
It really shows no institution was safe from this web. Not the White House, not Downing Street, not Buckingham Palace. And it doesn't stop there. The report says legal probes are active in at least 12 countries.
That's the scale of the global ripples. This isn't just a US-UK story. It spans the globe.
Okay, let's look at France. We know about Jean-Luc Brunel, the model scout, but who else?
Former Culture Minister Jack Lang. His name reportedly appears over 600 times in the files.
600 times. That is not a casual acquaintance.
No, it isn't. The investigation seems to be looking into financial ties and tax fraud laundering. It suggests the high-end art world was used as another vehicle for moving money.
And then there's Norway. This one feels like a bizarre coincidence, but the expert notes say it's not.
It's a fascinating simultaneous timeline. Right now, a criminal trial just opened for Marius Borg Heiby. He's the son of Crown Princess Mette Marit.
And he's on trial for, what was it?
Assault? Rape and assault charges, yes. But here's the intersection. This trial is happening at the exact same moment. The deep dive reveals that the crown princess herself, his mother, had extensive correspondence with Epstein and even borrowed his Palm Beach property.
Wow.
So think about how that looks. The son is facing justice for violent crimes against women, and the mother's past association with a global predator is being laid bare. It creates a really ugly narrative.
It's like dominoes falling. And speaking of elite circles, we have to look at the Middle East. The report mentions intelligence-adjacent operations. What does that even mean?
This is where the network operated almost like a private intelligence agency. Documents suggest Epstein was brokering meetings between Silicon Valley leaders and Middle Eastern sovereigns.
Specifically naming Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem, the CEO of DP World.
Right, a massive global logistics company. Why was Epstein the middleman here? It raises huge national security questions. Was he gathering compromat? Was he shaping policy? Was he selling access? These weren't just social calls.
It's terrifying. But we can only see this now because of the data dump. And that brings us to the technical side of things, which, sounds like a disaster in itself.
Disaster is the polite word for it. We're talking about the technical failure of the release of these 3.5 million pages.
You would think they'd get the redactions right, but the report says sloppy redactions.
It's a tragedy. Human and technical errors in the process have inadvertently exposed the names and even photos of dozens of survivors.
That's heartbreaking. These are people who fought to remain anonymous, who are victims, and now their privacy is blown because of, what, a clerical error?
Both, it seems. It creates a massive liability for the DOJ, and it re-traumatizes the victims. It's hard to trust the process when the process can't even use a black marker correctly.
And this feeds into the 6 million debate I've seen.
Right. So the DOJ released 3.5 million pages, but there are supposedly 6 million pages total. The DOJ claims the remaining 2.5 million are non-responsive.
Which sounds like a very convenient legal term for stuff we don't want you to see.
That is exactly what Congress is arguing. They're demanding the rest. They do not trust the DOJ's filter on this.
And that confrontation is happening literally today.
Yes. Today, February 11th, Attorney General Pam Bondi is testifying before the House Judiciary Committee. She's there to answer for the redaction failures and to defend withholding those final 200,000 deliberative process pages.
Can we explain deliberative process? That sounds like jargon, but it feels important.
It's crucial. It refers to the internal discussions prosecutors have before making a decision. It's the thinking out loud phase.
Okay.
But in this case, those memos likely contain the arguments for why they didn't prosecute people in the past.
Yeah.
They explain the why behind the leniency. That's why Congress wants them. They are the smoking gun for institutional failure.
So we have the AG in the hot seat today. And looking at the calendar, it doesn't slow down.
Not at all. We mentioned the Clintons earlier with the clemency offer. Well, they're scheduled for depositions, too. Hillary Clinton is up on February 26th.
And Bill Clinton.
He's expected for a public deposition on Friday, February 27th.
A public deposition for a former president. That is going to be historic.
It will be a media circus, but legally, it's significant. It shows the oversight committees are finally piercing that veil of protection.
So what does this all mean? We have the Capitol standoff, the visa fraud, the British government collapsing, global raids, a data dump that's a mess.
If we put it all together, the takeaway is clear. This was never a story about one bad man. It was always about a global network of enablers. We are watching the unraveling of the legal, political, and financial scaffolding that supported him.
It's that systemic protection you mentioned at the start.
Exactly. It exposes how fragile our systems are. The visa system was weaponized. Diplomatic channels were compromised. Justice was traded for favor. These are the pillars of society, and they were all bent to serve this network.
And it is all happening right now.
Which brings us to the final thought for you to ponder. We have this clemency offer on the table. Maxwell says, "Let me out, and I'll give you the names." At the same time, we have 2.5 million pages still hidden by the DOJ. So you have to ask yourself, if that clemency quid pro quo is rejected and those remaining pages stay locked away, are we actually seeing the end of the cover-up? Or are we just seeing a curated version of the truth managed by the very people who are currently in power?
That is a chilling thought. Are we getting the full story or just the story they can afford to let us hear? That's all for this deep dive. Keep your eyes on the news today for AG Bondi's testimony. It is going to be a long month. Thanks for listening.